Hey folks, Monday at the hangar, going over what we need to do this week. We're going to get started on working on the gap seals some more. So let's see what's going on. All right, so we have a couple of the strips, all the holes drilled. Here's our gap seal. So what we have to do is figure out where this corner is going to be in the airplane and start making holes along this seam for these retainer strips. So stand by, we'll get up in there in the aileron route and see what we need to do. All right, so we're up here on the wing, and we're getting ready to mark the locations of all the holes in the fabric. So we've got our newly minted backup strips for these. So now we need to mark the locations of all of the rest of the holes on the fabric. Then we'll go take them back down and we'll leather punch them. Okay. All right. Those are all marked. We'll get this out of here and get the holes punched. The ultimate goal is to get this gap seal in here before paint. Before paint. That's right. Okay. I've got all the holes punched. So now we can go stick this up in the wing, the aileron root, get these clecoed in place, and then we can figure out where all the holes are going to be for the spar wall and the lower skin. Back again. It's Wednesday. We're going to work on the gap seals in the left aileron some more, but something I've been worrying about for some time. When we put the nose on, we did a test, and we are not getting the vacuum that we should. One of the things on our list of things to do to verify systems is to check the vacuum system. When we first put the nose on, we didn't have the kind of vacuum that we should, at least according to the gauge. So I'm going to go up and I'm going to test each instrument individually with the vacuum system and see if I can find a culprit that says, here's your vacuum leak, or do we have weak pumps? So stand by. All right, so our vacuum system in a nutshell. This is our vacuum, how do you say that? I'm going to say supply. It's not the word I'm looking for, but it's what's going to work for me. And then here's our vacuum regulator. This line over here goes to our annunciator vacuum switch, which is over there. And here are our two vacuum supplies to our instruments. So I'm going to disconnect this one that actually feeds our artificial horizon and our turn and bank. And so what I'm essentially going to do is I'm going to turn on the directional gyro, and I'm also going to be looking down here at our vacuum gauge to see if we can develop the vacuum that we need. So hang on just a minute, let me get a line plugged and I'll be right back. All right, so what I've done, I've disconnected this right-hand feed in the aircraft that goes up and feeds the artificial horizon right here, but it also feeds the turning bank. So I've just eliminated that. The only thing I'm going to be feeding is the directional gyro and the vacuum enunciator switch. So let me get in the cockpit and we'll see what that looks like.
No, I can grab that. I guess that makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, serendipity strikes and Jan happened to be climbing up here. So let me explain to him what I've done and I'll have him.
See, I can just do that.
Yeah. Yeah, Jan has installed a handy dandy handle up here. It's partially installed. You've got to put another screw in it. It's still movable. Okay, Jan, so what I've done, so that you know, I've disconnected the center line, which feeds both the gyro, or artificial horizon, and the turning bank. So the only thing we'll have operating is the directional gyro at this point, and the vacuum enunciator.
Okay.
So if I think the battery's hooked up, and so if you want to flip on the battery and let's turn on the vacuum switch. All right, groovy. There it went. All right, so the vacuum switch is right here, is it not?
Right here.
We haven't marked it yet, but let's see what.
So, system 1, system 2.
Yeah. All right, so where are we on the gauge? Nothing. What does that mean? It appears that we had a bad directional gyro. It was leaking through, so we had a spare. Went ahead and put that in. Jan's going to test it again here, and let's see what we got.
Okay.
All right. Power on. Kill the master caution.
Okay, backlight is on, which means we don't have a vacuum. Vacuum gauge is 0. We'll go ahead and turn number 1 pump on.
Okay. Okay.
Backlight's still on.
Let me Okay, I've closed down the regulator valves. That made a difference. All right, so after much trials, tribulations, and considerations, we're going to have to send our digital gyro and our artificial horizon indicators out. They're just, without the DG, we've got plenty of vacuum. We hook up the DG and we fall a couple of inches short of full vacuum. But also the artificial horizon, it sounds like it's kind of dirty inside, and it's not winding up and giving us a picture that the pilots would not want to fly with. So we're going to go back to work on the outer gap seal, but in the meantime, we are laying out where we're going to be for our seal between the nose and the fuselage. One of the things about the A-26 is that the nose was built to a standard, and so was the fuselage. But when this was converted into VIP transport, they removed the armor plating. So that gives us this step between the skin and the nose. So our plan moving forward is to do a fabric and dope kind of thing to cover this gap and seal the airplane. So what Jan's doing right here, he's templating where we need to be as far as the fabric when the end result is there. So with all things considered, we're going to do everything we can to get the upper cheek panels on the airplane and get the nose sealed to the fuselage. So give us a few minutes and I'll show you where we're at. All right, Jan has got his edges marked. And now he's masking our line that we're going to have our fabric and dope to seal off that edge. All right, got our backup strip in here. I got to finish putting it over to there. And then I can start calculating how these holes in here and back there are going to intersect with the canvas. So stand by. Okay, that makes it so I can see what the next step is going to be, and that's to not only do the vertical, which is over here, but also to do this horizontal that lays on the skin right here. Okay, let's punch some more holes. All right, all the holes are calculated on this end. I just got to go over and do the same thing on the other end. Okay, I've got everything ready to go in this, but before I do, we've got some garbage from drilling holes and stuff like that in the retainer plates. So I got to get that vacuumed out, get the dust out of here, and then I'll be ready to put this cap seal in there. bit of a wipe down. And then I'll start getting this in, getting all the screws in across the back side of the spar. Okay then. Well, let's see about getting all these screws installed across this plate. Let's get the proper screws. So I'm exchanging the screws because these were the screws that had the length needed for no gap seals, but since we're putting gap seals in, had to get longer screws. So that's why you see me exchanging this stuff. Okay, last one. And then I can put the field of screws in. Huh. Field of dreams, field of screws. Okay. Alrighty then, let's get the rest of the screws in here. I don't know if you can tell, but it's a beautiful day outside. We've got a big high barometer sitting outside, and it's getting the door's open, the sun is shining. I don't know if you can see off in the distance over there, but fairly hazy. But the heat's off. I'm just wearing a couple of shirts. If it would last all winter like this, that'd be cool. Going back to work. Okay, now that that's done, I got to go figure out the lengths of the screws that got to go on the vertical on this bar. Once there's 5 screws, then Jan and I can rivet down the gap seal to the bottom skin. And then this one will be done, except for all the work we got to do on the aileron when it comes back from paint. All right, got everything done. All of the screws in the spar. I don't know how well you can see that, but got all the screws in the spar. And Jan's ready to squeeze some rivets because he loves squeezing rivets.
Love it.
But unfortunately, we're only going to be able to squeeze 2 on each side, and then the rest we're going to have to use a hammer and a buck. So stand by. I'm not going to put this on film. Okay. The outer gap seal on the left wing is officially done. Jan's a happy camper. And my day is done. I'm going to go home. I'm tired. I'm hungry. I probably not going to drop a video after Thanksgiving. It's going to be 2 weeks before I drop another video. I hope everyone has a happy Thanksgiving Day. If you don't mind subscribing, giving us a like, sharing out our videos, and comment. We love the comments. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.